Have you ever wondered if ancient texts, like really old ones, hold secrets we just haven't found yet? I mean, what if there's a whole hidden layer of meaning, like a code, just sitting there in scripture? Well, today we're going to look at a pretty fascinating piece of software that says it's the key to unlocking all of that. So let's dive in and see how this thing actually works. So, this is the central promise, right? This is the big idea behind the whole thing. We're not just talking about reading the text the way you normally would. No. The idea here is to use technology to hunt for a code that's hidden just beneath the surface. And hey, who knows what that code might reveal? Prophecies, future events, maybe even personal connections? But how? I mean, that's a huge question, isn't it? We're talking about texts that are literally thousands of years old. So, how on earth would you even start looking for some hidden pattern or message that you can't see right away? It just seems like, well, an impossible task unless you have some kind of special key. And that, of course, is exactly where this software comes into play. It's presenting itself as the digital key. So in this explainer, we're going to break down how this Bible code software really works, from its search engine all the way to how it shows you what it finds. Okay, so let's start with the heart of the whole operation, right? The digital search engine. This is basically the tool that does all the heavy lifting, sifting through these ancient texts with its algorithms to try and find these potential codes. And the way you use it is, well, surprisingly simple. It really starts just like any search engine you've ever used. You type in a word or a phrase. Then you can tweak your search options a bit, and then boom, the software shows you any possible matches in this really unique grid format that it calls the matrix. And this search function is packed with features that are meant to make it super powerful, but also really easy to use. It's all optimized for modern computers, so it's fast. And get this, you don't even need to know Hebrew because it's got a built-in keyboard and dictionaries for both English and Hebrew. Now that extension searches feature, that's really interesting. It automatically scouts around for related words that pop up near your main search term, almost like it's trying to piece together a whole message for you. So you're probably wondering, what text is it actually searching through? Well, the software doesn't just scan any old version. It's analyzing two very specific foundational Hebrew texts, the Masoretic text and the Leningrad Codex. You can think of these as the master copies, the really authoritative versions of the Hebrew Bible. They provide the raw, totally unaltered data for every single search you run. But okay, just searching for words is only one piece of the puzzle. The software also brings in a completely different way of looking at the text, an ancient practice called gematria. So here's the crucial point you gotta get. In Hebrew, every single letter also has a number value. Gematria is basically the system of adding up those values to get a total for a word or even a whole phrase. And the thinking is, words that have the same numerical value might be connected in some way, even if they look totally unrelated on the surface. And this is way more than just a simple calculator. The software actually supports a bunch of different ways of doing these calculations. You've got Regil, Catan, Clawly, and others. And that's actually a big deal because it shows the tool is designed for people who follow different schools of thought on this stuff. It lets you explore all these different interpretive traditions. So here's how you'd actually use it. Let's say you find a main search term, right? You could then fire up the Gematria calculator to look for other words, secondary terms, that have the exact same numerical value. The hope is that this might reveal a deeper layer of meaning inside the code you found. It really adds a whole new dimension to the search. All right, so you've run your search, you've maybe even played around with Gematria, and now you've got some potential results. So what happens next? Well, how the software actually presents these findings is just as important as the search itself. See, the software gives you a ton of control over how everything looks. The goal here is to get you beyond just staring at a confusing wall of letters. You can customize the fonts, you can use different shapes and colors to mark things. It's all about letting you visually organize what you've found so that any potential connections are way easier to spot and figure out. And of course, there's a simple but, let's face it, pretty essential feature for any modern software. You can switch between a light and a dark theme. It might seem like a small thing, but it can make the whole experience a lot more comfortable, especially if you're doing some deep dive research for hours. Now, this is one of the most critical presentation features, for sure. Remember those extension searches we talked about, the ones that find related words? Well, the software actually tries to line them up in the matrix so they kind of flow together visually. The whole goal is to turn what could just be a random jumble of letters into something that actually looks more like a real phrase or a sentence. Okay, so beyond the do-it-yourself software, there's actually another part to this. a service that's designed to make the whole search for codes a lot more personal. And this is a pretty compelling offer, you have to admit. If you don't want to do all this searching yourself, you can actually have their expert researchers do it for you. And what's the most personal search you can imagine? Well, they can look for your name. The source material basically asks, hey, could your name be hidden somewhere in these codes? And if you do decide to have them search for something personal, like your name, it's good to know they have a really clear privacy policy. Your results are your results, and that's it. They're yours alone, unless you give them specific, explicit permission to publish them. And that really brings us full circle. This whole software is built on a really powerful and, let's be honest, provocative idea that there's more to these ancient texts than what we see on the surface. So it kind of leaves us all with a final question to think about. If you really had a key like this, one that could potentially unlock hidden messages in an ancient text, what would you look for?